Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are diving into a peaceful sunset landscape painting where I'll guide you step by step on creating that warm, glowy sunset effect. So let's get started. First, I'm going to tape down the edges of my paper with some masking tape. I'm using a washi tape here, but feel free to use any tape that's available with you. Once all four sides are secure, go over the edges with your fingers to make sure it is tightly sealed. This will help prevent any water from sneaking in under the tape. Now let's start with a light sketch to map out our composition. First, I'll mark the horizon line which will guide the placement of our elements. Above the horizon will be the tree line and below is the reflection in the water. Then I'll add a simple shape for the boat along with a small human figure. I'll also mark the reflection of the boat in the water. Alright, that is it with the sketching. Next, let us move on to the painting part. Now grab a jar of water and a mop brush and let's wet the entire surface of the paper. This will prep it beautifully for the wet on wet technique, allowing the colors to blend softly as we work. While the paper is absorbing the water, let's use this time to prepare our colors. For this painting, we will be using permanent yellow, burnt sienna and violet as our main colors. These colors will help us capture the warm, glowing effect of a sunset. Alright, let's get started with the painting. I'm beginning with a watery tone of permanent yellow. And with this tone, I'll carefully paint the sun, leaving a small white area to suggest that bright, glowing center. Next, I'll add an inverted reflection of the sun below, mirroring it in the water. Now, I'll add a bit of burnt sienna with the yellow to create a warmer orangish tone. I'll apply it gently across the rest of the sky. For a balanced look, I'll repeat the same color mix in the water area as well. So whatever we paint in the sky should also be reflected below. This will bring a sense of harmony and realism to the scene. Next, using a diluted burnt sienna, I'll introduce the tree line. Don't worry about achieving perfect shapes at this point. Just dab the color along the horizon line. This loose approach will give us a soft, natural look, hinting at trees without focusing on details. Next, I'm going to start adding shades of purple to either side of the painting. Here we will start building the shape of the trees. As I reach the middle area, I'll stop applying the paints there to create that glowing sunlit effect. Now I want to add the colors drop by drop gently rather than applying it in big chunks. In the middle section, I'll go back to the burnt sienna to enhance that sunlight effect. As the sunlight hits the trees, they take on a warm brownish hue. Next, I'll lift some paint from the middle horizon line to create a clear sense of separation between the water and the upper area. Now, using the tip of the brush, I'm dabbing to create smaller dots. This technique will help us achieve a lovely foliage effect in the trees. Next, I'll start adding another layer to the tree line and its reflection. So here I'm using paints gray and violet to create a darker violet shade, which I'll gently drop onto the tree line to intensify its overall look. Again, I'm applying the paints drop by drop, creating the foliage effect. To intensify the sunlit effect, I'm dropping in some burnt sienna in mid-tone consistency. Again, I'm lifting off the paints from the midsection horizon area to create or maintain a strong sense of separation. To add a touch of softness and mystery, I'll lift some paint around the horizon area. This somewhat looks like a foggy effect around the horizon. You can use a clean and damp brush to lift off the paints in case you want some intense foggy effect. Make sure to frequently check that horizon line remains clearly separated. I accidentally dropped a water droplet, but no worries, I'm going to turn it into a water ripple sort of effect. So I'll take my clean brush and gently move it back and forth in horizontal motion, right where the water droplet landed. Moving on, I'm going to create some soft sunbeams resembling rays of sunlight falling on the midsection of the tree line. To do this, I'll use a clean damp brush to lift the paints of the paper at different angles around the sun. It is important that your paper is still damp to perform this technique. If your paper has dried out already, don't worry, just leave it as it is and we can move on to the final step of the painting, that is to paint the boat. Once I have painted the sunbeams, I am going to splatter some water from the top. This will create a soft circle or bubble sort of effect on the main sunlit area. Moving on, I'm going to paint the boat. But first, I'll check the area if it has dried properly. It seems a bit damp, so I'll wait for a couple of more minutes. In the meantime, I'll enhance the tree line. I'll apply some burnt sienna and using my fingertip, I'll dab the paint around one by one. So apply the paints around the sunbeams to create that nice glowing effect on the trees. This technique will also add some detailing work to the tree line. Remember, this step is wet on dry since the paper has already begun drying. Once we have finished the sunlight area, we will take our violet color and begin painting the foliage. So create a mix of different sized dabs by lightly tapping the brush which will give the impression of clusters of leaves. This varied approach adds depth and texture, making the foliage look natural and full. I'll continue dabbing and creating the impression of foliage. For blending, I'm using my fingertip, especially in the lower area of the horizon, trying to maintain a nice foggy effect. To achieve this, I'll blend it with clean water, create a soft fog effect. To retain the foggy effect that we created earlier, use a clean damp brush and blend the sharp edges of the newer foliage that we created. We'll also use the same technique of lifting the paints for sunbeams as well. For the reflection, we don't need to add too many details. Instead, I'll simply apply watered down version of the violet and orange color. This will harmonize the overall scene. Next, let us check back on the boat area. It looks like it has dried. So I'll apply a mix of burnt sienna and violet using a liner brush. This will act as the mid-tone color of the boat. We'll add the darker details later on. Using a fine liner brush helps us to paint minute details. Next, to create the impression of separation between the boat and the reflection, I'll lift the paints using a clean damp brush. I'll also lift some paints from the right side of the boat. Now on the same area, I'll drop in some orange color to create a sunlit effect. Next, let us create some ripples around the boat. Since the boat is moving, so we will add a sense of movement to the water. For the ripple effect, I'll add some horizontal lines and some zigzag lines to mimic the gentle ripples created by the boat's movement. Adding some more ripples towards the foreground. For this, I'm using diluted yellow color, defining the reflection area using violet. Next, let us add some birds. For this, I'm using diluted brown color and then dropping in some darker color. The same color I'll use for the reflection part. Next, I'll use my hair dryer to completely dry out the paints around the boat area. This will help me add the further details. Next, take paints gray and violet in equal parts to create a rich blackish tone. Use this mix to add fine details to the boat. Leave some tiny spaces here and there to capture the sunlit effect. These small highlights will make the boat look more realistic, adding contrast and depth to the details. Make sure to leave the space for the separation. Add all the details and also the ripples using this darker color. Now I'll add some more birds using darker shade that we have now. Adding some more ripples in the foreground just to give some more attention and some splattering of colors. Alright, now let us carefully peel off the washi tape to reveal the final look of our painting. And there it is. Just look at how beautifully this warm, glowing sunset has turned out. I'm so pleased with the final result. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please consider subscribing to my channel for more painting tips and tutorials. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Until then, bye bye.